they were fortunate enough to get out, and she wasn't.
And John, what if just somehow one of those hijackers had survived that crash or somehow survived? Would you? How would you have felt? Would you have felt that person deserved to get the death penalty?
Absolutely. That attack was an attack against this country, and that's an act of war. And when you have an act of war, you have to do what the articles of war call for, and that's kill the enemy. We're their enemy, and they're ours. And this young fella with his mother over in Russia saying they set him up. I mean, these are lunatics. These people are fanatics. They're not going to stop. If you put him in jail, why give him the opportunity to turn around and maybe kill a prison guard who's in there watching them, and he turns around and he gets a shank and kills the corrections officer? Why give them that opportunity? Why just not stop it and put it away? Charles Manson, they should have executed him a long time ago, but yet we still hear about him.
That's right. John, you talked with your niece that morning, right after the first plane had hit?
I spoke to her 2 minutes after the first plane hit. She was in the second building. And I called her because I had heard the news right away. And I spoke to her, and she was fine. She was such a good kid. She cared so much about other people. And she went in to get her boss, and her boss was an elderly guy. She was an executive secretary, and she was escorting him out of the building. People saw her leaving. They made it. She didn't. She was probably on her way down when the building got hit. And, they did find a piece, and I went to the museum, and when they built the museum, they did a lot of good things, but then they put a section where they praise Al-Qaeda. They have pictures of the hijackers, Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
They don't belong there.
No.
They do not belong there. Why enshrine them so some fanatic Muslim walked in there and praised them?
Yeah.
They shouldn't be praised. They should be cursed because they're in hell.
You're exactly right, John. Thank you for the call. 1-855-400-SAVAGE. 1-855-400-7282. This is John DePetro sitting in for Dr. Michael Savage. We'll continue on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Savage.
Hey, our Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. The only company I trust for wealth insurance, gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN.
You're listening to the Savage Nation. Our phone number 1-855-400-SAVAGE. This is John DePetro sitting in for Dr. Michael Savage. Terry on line 7 is listening on WVNN in Alabama. Hello, Terry.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. Go right ahead, Terry.
Yeah, I honestly, I think the death penalty is too good for people like this. I wish they'd come up with something worse than the death penalty. It almost seems too easy. And we certainly don't want him going to jail because people like him, they convert other people in there who don't have a way forward in life, and then they all get out, and next thing they want to do is they all want to cause harm to the U.S. A lot of people getting converted to Islam while in jail.
That is exactly right, Terry. And on top of that, listen, it just stays in the news. He stays alive. He's able to correspond with different people. Talking about the Boston bomber, continues to then hang out with other terrorists. I mean, what are the options? One is the death penalty, and then the other option is you allow them to remain. And who knows, maybe someday they get pardoned. 1-855-400-SAVAGE. Don't forget our website. It's michaelsavage.com, where you can pre-order Countdown to Mecca. John DePetro in for Dr. Michael Savage. This is the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected talk, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
This is The Savage Nation. This is John DePetro sitting in for Dr. Michael Savage. You're welcome to call the program 1-855-400-SAVAGE, 1-855-400-7282. Don't forget, visit our website. It's michaelsavage.com. And, of course, for the latest news and headlines. And don't forget, the countdown is on. The new novel, Countdown to Mecca, coming soon, available for pre-order online right now at michaelsavage.com. You know, headlines right now, we have been talking about the fact that the parents of the youngest victim of the Boston bomber are now speaking out, saying that they're against the death penalty, that they don't want the Boston bomber, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, put to death. I disagree with that. I disagree with that because this was an act of terrorism against all Americans, not just a crime against their family, all due respect, or the little boy, their son, 8-year-old Martin Richard, and the same thing with terrorist attack, whether it be on September 11th in New York or in the Pentagon. If family members of those victims step forward and said, I don't want the death penalty for these people, I think the rule of law overrules that, and I think we have to follow it. But another story that, and I would like women to call in, especially on this story, and it's the story you hear about, but the issue of pay inequality was brought up. And I think this is so offensive in a way. President Obama, now many times, keep in mind, many times people are serious, but then they say something in jest. But this notion that when they're talking about pay inequality, that Michelle Obama, the First Lady, somehow should be getting paid, and obsessed about that. Let's hear. This is President Obama talking about pay inequality, and that Michelle Obama should be getting a big paycheck.
Paying women the same as men for doing the same job, that's not hard. That's not hard. And it's not a women's issue. As I said yesterday, right now Michelle's not getting paid anything, and she points that out.
How is that possible? The president goes on to talk about that right now, let's say the next cut, that there isn't equal pay in the White House.
But before we got to the White House, when she was working, I wanted her to get paid the same as a man did. Because if she was getting paid, that money accrued to our account. Just as her expenses accrued to our account. So there's a family issue.
Should the First Lady, should Michelle Obama be getting a paycheck? 1-855-400-SAVAGE. Think of how she travels. Think of how much it costs when she travels somewhere. What about doing the right thing? So now, it's not enough to have the honor of being the First Lady. It's not enough that you get to live in the White House. It's not enough that you're experiencing something that no one else would be experiencing. But they harp on. That's their idea of pay inequality. Is that your idea of pay inequality? That is not pay inequality. The First Lady of the United States, that somehow the First Lady should be getting paid. Or on your state and local level. You know, if the governor is a woman, should her husband, if she's married to a man, should he be getting paid? Or, you know, if the governor happens to be a man, should the First Lady of that particular state, whatever state, Texas or Florida or California, be paid? Michelle Obama, there's something there that they're joking about it that then must actually be discussed, where the Obamas feel that she does a lot and should be paid. Never mind, he was the candidate. He's the one, as president, getting what, $400,000 a year. And that's not enough. the honor of being the First Lady, the honor to have her causes go forward, whatever it may be, health, child obesity, state dinners at the White House, that somehow that is not enough for the first family. What do you think? I would like to hear, especially right now, if you're a woman, pick up the phone, humor me, 1-855-400-7282. Don't you think? I think that's insulting. I think if you're a woman or a single mom or someone struggling to get by, working 2-3 jobs, and there's Michelle Obama entertaining Beyonce, Jay-Z in the White House, traveling all over the world, and somehow in her mind, this isn't fair. I'm not being paid. The president gets paid, but I'm not getting paid. So we'll take your phone calls on that. Now, in regards to this business of terrorism and the Boston bomber, let's go to line 9. Patrick is listening on WMAL in Washington. Patrick, you're up on the Savage Nation. Hello, Patrick.
Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Very well. Go right ahead, Patrick.
Well, I want to start with saying I'm a Iraq and Afghanistan veteran. I lost a friend in 9/11 at the Pentagon, and I am a Christian. So you got to know those 3 things about me before you hear my opinion, because I am for and against the death penalty, and I'll tell you why. I know what it feels like to have that anger towards the terrorists, and they are terrorists. This guy is a terrorist. You take out all the emotion and use the letter of the law. The letter of the law calls for him to be executed, just plain and simple. Now, and I also love how you respectfully disagree with the parents of the child. That is awesome. Some people may speak out against the parents, but you respectfully disagree, and that shows a lot for your character.
Thank you, Patrick.
But I know what it feels like to pull the trigger on somebody, and it's easy to say, yeah, give him the death penalty. He needs to die. But it's a different story when you're the one pulling that trigger.
Yep.
So that's where emotion comes into play, where we don't need that in the letter of the law. So with that said, he deserves to die.
I think so.
As an American, as a patriot, they waged war on us, and we have waged war, contrary to the previous caller, we have waged war on the terrorists. But the problem is, the bureaucrats in Washington on both sides of the aisle won't let us wage that war.
Correct.
Right,
Patrick, Nope, you're exactly right. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Gina on line 2, listening in Kansas on KINA. Gina, this is John DePetro. You're up on the Savage Nation. Gina, should Michelle Obama should she be getting a paycheck for being First Lady?
Heck no. I mean, I know that she thinks that she's done a lot for our country, but really, in retrospect, she hasn't done anything good for our country. And besides that, even if she was, historically, the First Lady, it's her job to give her sacrifice to the country. Her husband is getting paid for his job. It's her role to be a support team, part of the marriage and part of the job, but not to get paid for it.
Don't you think, Gina, isn't that real nerve? I mean, you have someone, think of what it costs when she's traveled abroad. Think of everything, your meals are paid for, your health care is paid for. The husband obviously gets the type of protection the president gets. And in her mind, don't you want to bet, Gina, that this is something they actually talk about? And I'll bet that she actually complains about, that she is not getting paid as First Lady.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, this is all her. She's pulling some strings. You bet she is. This is all her, and I think it's not surprising, and it's not unlike Obama to want to take more money out of our pockets.
Yes. Thank you for the call, Gina. So if this means that Hillary Clinton becomes the next president, that what? Bill Clinton should be paid to be the first gentleman? I think this is real nerve. Can we hear that cut again, Jim? Now, again, I always think that a lot of times things are said in jest. But you be the judge. Doesn't this sound to you like something that the first couple have discussed? And I'll bet that Michelle Obama, this must be something that she complains about, that despite, Air Force One, and they live in the White House, travel all over the world, everything you could ever want, staff waiting on you, it irks her that she's not receiving a paycheck. Let's hear the president again.
Paying women the same as men for doing the same job, that's not hard. That's not hard. And And it's not a women's issue. As I said,